Hopefully there's no technical difficulties for our first Wonder Wednesday. Let's have a look. Hope you're all well during this COVID time. Hey, Facebook's online. Welcome to our first Wonder Wednesday, guys.
Hello, how you going? Welcome.
Good. It's good. Good start. Good intro. Yep. Doing well. So I hope you all are feeling engaged tonight. We just thought during these days of isolation, it might be fun to get you guys on board. Ask us any questions that you might have always wondered about for this Wonder Wednesday that you might never have had the opportunity to ask a winemaker or wine marketer and winemaker like myself. So we're pretty stoked. I thought we might start the session just by asking Adrian some questions, and might kick off with what have we been doing during these last few weeks?
Well, we have been acting very responsibly.
We have been.
That's the most important thing to quell this shocking pandemic. What have we been doing? Well, we've had our campaign running the last 3 weeks, which you've been doing a great job on. So that's taken up a lot of time getting orders, corresponding with people, making sure that that they're happy with their deals.
Mm-hmm.
And
so by campaign you mean an annual sales campaign that we do for our mailing list.
That's right.
We call them our Friends of Minari. So if you've ever visited us at the Salad Door, you might have joined up as a friend of Minari, which is also why you might have liked our page. So our Friends of Minari annual sales campaigns going on when we do incredible deals. This is not a sales pitch. It just happens to be what we're doing at the moment.
We do one serious one a year. We offer up to 25 to 30% to our loyal customers, and it's not a gimmick. It's genuine. We just happen to be doing it we're always doing it at this time of the year. It's not like we've pushed in because we see a crisis looming. We've always been doing it this time, which worked out very well for us and for our customers who like to purchase some wines.
We're definitely seeing a bit of an increase in sales this month, which is good for us. Maybe not as good for you, because we know the answer to that is that you've been in isolation. What about the vineyard? What's been happening?
Well, the vineyard's not much happening in the vineyard. We've still got a lot of leaf out there, so we have to wait for the vines to go to sleep, obviously, so that they can stop their sap flowing, and then we can give them a haircut in due course. But so that's made it a bit more difficult. Everything was quite early again this year. But I think...
what do you mean early?
Well, in terms of we had a very short vintage, an early vintage. I mean, those vines could still carry a crop right now if they had to. And
we have seen growing tips coming through with all the rain and the sunshine. It's been beautiful. The vines are really going for it.
They are really enjoying it. So that's about all we do. India's been slashing in the vineyard to get it a bit tidier.
Yep.
And there's not much else to do in the vineyard at this point. But we've got a little bit of work to do in the winery, which we've still got a Shiraz Viognier to tuck away from vintage. We've got a few wines to top up with a bit of sulphur to give them good protection, and also to get into barrels. Again, with more protection. So that's our next task this week.
We have a couple of white wines that we're going to look to be bottling in the next few months. And I guess I'm going to start with my own question on Wonder Wednesday. One of our grapes that we're experimenting with is Garganega.
Garganega?
What is Garganega?
Suave. It's the principal white variety in Suave, which is just up north of Verona. And a beautiful little in Italy, beautiful little town. It's actually a walled city, not huge, probably the size of a big footy ground, but it's not large at all. But it's got the wall all the way around it, and high production there. And that's why I always loved that style. And it's nice and dry, and so we're only able to secure a small amount. Because they don't do much. So I think we'll probably produce around 550 litres. So that'll be a good start to help us determine what we're going to do in the future in regards to planting white grapes.
Another vineyard.
Because at the moment we've got Vermitino, which we're looking at, Garganega, and we were looking originally at Fiano, although I think these other two varieties are probably better suited for us.
Staying true to our Italian roots there.
That's right.
Can I encourage you guys? I can see a few of you out there. Thank you for joining us. If you have any questions you want us answered for Wonder Wednesday, then do type it. I'm monitoring both. That's why I'm leaning in and out a bit.
Amy Higginbotham, I can't advise you on a baby formula at this stage.
So the first question that was pre-submitted was, what makes rosé pink?
Well, actually, when I tend to get a little bit more. I'm always enthusiastic about rosé, and I also think it's when we talk winemaking in rosé, it's always been perceived as a very simple process, but it's not. I don't believe. I think it's just as time consuming, and you need to be as careful, if not more, with what you put in the bottle, and because there's so many different styles. Do you want more sweetness? Do you want more austereness? What sort of fruit characters are you looking for in a wine? But basically, that all helps to answer the question, because
which is what makes rosé pink. Yeah.
So generally, if you're using, because that's obviously coming from all the pigmentation in the skins, the colouring. So when you leave wine on skins for some time, that those tannins and anthocyanins get extracted, and pigments get extracted, and that's what can give you colour. That's why I think it's got to be very careful, because it depends on what sort of style you're making.
Sort of style and what grape you're using.
Because for example, what's the one we do?
What's the one we do? Grenache.
Grenache has no colour whatsoever. If it's overcropped, it'll be pale as it'll be like white wine, and that suits me down to the ground, because what we're looking for is to get the nice fruit flavours, freshness, nice acidity from those from the skins. And what I want to do, and what I'm hopefully trying to teach India, is that we can invent our own colour, because it's such a pale, insipid colour anyway. What we like to do is just add a few litres of some nice strong Shiraz perhaps, or something that's not going to dominate the wine, something that maybe add a little bit more floralness to it, give it another dimension. But more importantly, it's not going to deepen the colour too much, because, as you know, we've got colours revolving around Grenache that go from pink salmon to
onion skins.
Yeah, onion skins, with some of those horrific colours, and you wouldn't want to drink them. But I like the idea of having a nice rosé colour, if that makes any sense. I think for me that's the most important thing I'm looking for when I make a rosé, that I'm giving it a true colour. But generally any sort of colour is basically accepted. The one colour that hasn't really gone well here is, as they do in, say, Spain, Portugal, is some of the deeper rosés.
Yeah.
It's almost like a light red wine.
Well, a deeper rosé generally comes from a thicker skin grape like Cabernet, for example, or Shiraz. And in Spain, where they have like hot conditions, you get more robust grapes, generally a thicker skin, naturally extracts more colour more easily. And so just to clarify, you skimmed over it, all grapes have clear juice. So when we make a rosé, we don't soak the skin with the clear juice. We just crush the grapes, press it out as soon as we can, and you get that light colour coming from those skins. Good.
Yep.
Good. Hi to people that have joined us. Hola. Hola, Kate. Feel free to comment any questions you might have. We've also got some some of our followers sent in earlier. Adrian, do you have a favourite wine to make?
I actually do. I really enjoy making some of the late harvests and the fortified. So I find that's something that's it's a bit more challenging. And there's so many variables, particularly in late harvest, working out what sort of structure you want, whether you want to have a lighter style, you want to have more sugar, less sugar. There's so many things in play, and you need to consider. So you have to be very clear in what style it is you're chasing. But I think that for me, it's away from all the red wines, which are, relatively speaking, easy to make-ish. But something that something like late harvest. We're in fact trying to do a Fino sherry at the moment. We've spent a considerable amount of time trying to propagate the floor yeast, and we think we've almost got it now. It's taken some time. Unfortunately, I had to move the barrel one day, and then I think, as I understand it, doesn't like to be moved, and that sort of shattered the structure of the floor yeast.
The floor is like a bacteria that grows on the top of the sherry wine, and it's this bacteria that protects it from spoilage, but it also provides a nuttiness, and this dry flavouring that we come to know and love from sherry.
And we're looking at doing a sort of Fino sherry, which is a dry style.
Not your grandma's.
No. Ones you normally that you serve chilled, and they should be fresh. Absolutely, always fresh. So that's been something that's really interested me, and of course I do love making fortifieds, because that always gives you a bit more creativity and creates a bit more interest for me.
It's another good Wonder Wednesday question. Actually, we did some content for Heathcote Tourism recently, and one of the things we looked at was different wine terms that people might not understand, and one of them was fortification. Fortified, what does that even mean? And it's simply a fortification process is to add a neutral spirit like ethanol. For our last fortified, we used a homemade brandy spirit base. You add that to your ferment. The high alcohol condition means it kills the yeast, which means the sugar is no longer being converted to alcohol. So depending on when you add it, you can have generally speaking, a fortified Shiraz ends up being high in sugar and high in alcohol, because that sugar hasn't been fully fermented out of the wine.
Again, there's many styles revolving around that style of wine, but I think the Australian standard basically is around when we say we nuke it, we stop the yeast, and that's around 4 to 5 bone, I believe. So it's about 40 grams of sugar. They're about maybe a bit less. But they're always very, very interesting to make and satisfying. Just like some of the other ones I like to make is one of those. What's my favourite one?
Pedro Ximenez.
Ximenez, yes. That's,
I'm going to take this time to say that Dad's been having actually a lot of back pain recently, so he's been out of action.
I'm a bit spacey.
He's also on a lot of pain medication, which is why he's forgot that we make our rosé from Grenache, and that he loves Pedro Ximenez, which is a sweet sherry from Spain, southern Spain. Had a question, where can I get some Fino?
Well, you'll have to wait, Amy, because it's going to take some time for us to finish it off. In fact, as I said, it's an adventure every day now, because I've never made one.
We didn't really follow the rules. Yes. It's more of an experiment.
And it looks nice and clean. It's not. Looks like the yeast is going along beautifully. Seems to be comfortable. Starting to form that structure on it now, and I believe it should get quite thick. Could get up to 2 or 3 inches, as I understand it, thick.
Yeah, it becomes like it looks like it. I've been to some wineries in Spain at my previous job, and they had a glass bottom, a glass end on the barrel. You've got the barrel length, and you can look into the barrel, and it's like this big. It's like a crazy ocean of sort of. It doesn't look like mold. It just it looks like sand almost. It's like a yeast. Yeah, it looks like a sandy substance. My question is here. Do you think India should stop calling Adrian Dad at work?
Am I answering that?
I don't know. I was hoping our peeps. Yes. I was hoping our people I could reverse it and I don't know who wrote it. I mean, it's probably me, but it could have been you. What do you think, guys? Should I stop calling Adrian Dad at work?
And call me 80?
80?
Or Adrian?
Or
some of those things she used to call me when she used to be angry?
Yeah, because that never happens anymore, working together and living together. Never. Anyway, I'm gonna wait for some of your responses before I love 80. I'm hoping you mean the name, not the man. No, I shouldn't stop calling him Dad. No way, it's always going to be Dad. Okay, good.
Dad. Okay, good.
I like that because, it's always a bit awkward.
The father.
I know, but it's a bit awkward. You want to try and keep professional and personal. I want you guys to know.
Well, it's personal. Dad?
No, I don't.
Can't get any more personal.
No, you want to be a professional, not got to be professional in work hours.
Mm-hmm.
The exclamation mark. Okay, next question. Again, thanks to those who've joined us. Feel free to add in any questions into the comments or the questions section on Facebook to get some answers that you've always wondered and you've never known. Why don't you ask me a question?
I've got the list.
No, this is my list.
Okay, I think you've had a bit of experience in Europe now with Pernod Ricard and the like. So I think perhaps you give our listeners a small summation of European wines versus Australian wine.
Okay.
Wine.
Good question. I did have a friend that asked me that recently.
You told me it was too complicated.
Yeah, tell them to get lost. I have some. I can see some followers that are actually very familiar with European wines, so happy for you to comment as well. I think the first thing about European wine is old world winemaking countries have to follow a lot more rules and regulations when they're making their wines. It's very much dictated by what history has allowed them to make, based on the region, based on the allowed grape varieties of those regions. So, for example, you might have gotten in trouble from me one day for calling sparkling wine in Australia champagne, because, as we know, Champagne is a region in France, and the term champagne is strictly trademarked to their region. So any sparkling wine coming out of Australia is sparkling wine, not champagne. I think they use a lot of the, for example, French and Northern Italian regions are cooler climate as well, which I think generally speaking leads to more savoury style wines. I think Australian wines can be, which I like, is more fruit driven, more crisp, fresher styles. These a little bit more oak in Europe. But there's always just a dustiness about European wines.
Yeah. There's also a bit of like a dankness about them also, because I don't think they traditionally used a lot of new oak.
Yeah.
Over the years, and I think their wines get a little bit dank, and some of those, particularly some of the Montepulcianos and things, in that area, they always smell a bit funny, bit different.
Yeah, it's an acquired taste. Some people love European wine. I like it. I prefer vibrancy in the wines I drink.
And we'd be more favouring white wine varieties in Europe, you and I.
Yeah.
As opposed to the red ones, I would think.
Yeah.
I thought.
Yeah. One of our favourites is Albarino in Galicia in Spain.
Mm.
In Rias Baixas. Vermitino, obviously, we're making now. That's an Italian grape.
I think also that the difference, the big difference, of course, is the varieties, and we've aligned ourselves with of late, the last 50 years or whatever it is, with the Rhine Valley varieties, which seem to be more suited here. But in Europe they've got, as we know, 201 varieties in Portugal, for example.
A lot of native varietals too.
No idea, and so we don't get exposed to all that sort of stuff. But I think generally we all, as wine consumers, prefer something that's a more easier style drinking and also has more fruit driven.
I think in Australia. Actually, you just touched on our first question on Instagram, which is there a region in Europe which is most similar to Heathcote? And you already said it.
I think, Bordeaux.
No. Rhone.
Rhone, okay. Not that far away.
Yeah. So Rhone is home of Shiraz, Châteauneuf-du-Pape is in the Rhone Valley.
Off from Viognier. What else you got there? Always very oaked.
All the Viognier, Marsanne, Roussanne.
Yeah, that's right. All those.
All from Rhone. But if you actually follow like the latitude of the planet and you go round, but then you have to use a bit of imagination because you flip it because they're in the northern hemisphere. It's actually on the same around the same latitude, so below or above the equator, which is quite interesting. If you follow a globe around, you'll usually find wine regions all in that one sort of loop altogether. Very good. Fiona sent this question in. What's the ideal temperature to store wine, especially given that average room temperatures vary from region to region?
Well, that's true too. And I think probably the most crucial point is that whatever you do, it remains constant. Ideally, I think somewhere between 14 and probably 16, I'd imagine. But long as it's kept in a dark spot, out of drafts,
out of fluctuating temperatures, and usually in the dark. So I think a lot of people, sometimes it seems obvious, and sometimes I notice that people have no idea. Like wine is a living thing, and when you put wine in the sun, it boils, and it all the fruit sort of basically what would you say, heats out of it, they become really flat. So that's sunlight, and then even temperature. So if you left, again, I see people leaving wine in their car, they might buy some wine at the cellar door and go camping or something, and all the wine just sits in their car, and that exposure to direct sunlight also can really affect the wine, really cook it. People put their wines on top of the fridge sometimes. Big no-no, because all that hot air escapes through the back of the fridge.
It's always interesting in China too that when you go into most of the restaurants there, they've always got all their wine storage right in front of the front door. The heat just pours through there. It's just unbelievable. They don't quite get it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate.
The best way to oxidise a wine. But I think there's also the issue about what temperature you do serve the wine at too. Because in Europe they probably, with the lighter styles, they'll probably tend to put it in the fridge for a couple of days. Bring it down to 15, 14 degrees for red wine, for example.
A lighter style,
Whereas we're still coping with rosé and what's the other one we got? I did.
What?
Rosé. Well, in terms of having a cold wine, we like our wines cold. I do anyway.
Thanks for the comments, guys. Oh, love it. Thank you for your comments. Any questions? Pop them in. Hey, Theodora. And what was I going to say?
I don't know.
About. Well, I was just going to touch on the fact that some people call chill light reds. I think there's the two really bad things you can do with a red wine particularly is serve it too chilled, because when you serve it chilled, the tannins become really aggressive. So if it's a young wine and you serve it cold, you can get, tannin is that really drying feeling, really gritty.
And can get quite bitter too.
Yeah.
It gets a bitterness about it.
So that's why one reason not to serve heavier reds chilled. And then the other reason,
we're in a hot climate here, and nothing better than having a white wine, steer wine. It's not nice and fruity with a good acid, and then having it come out cold. Yeah. Because in this climate, it doesn't even comes out at 10 degrees.
Warms up pretty quickly.
Yeah, give it a minute and it's done. So Yeah, and I think we appreciate that more than most other continents.
Yes. The other thing I was going to say is why you don't want to serve your red wines specifically to warm is because the alcohol. The alcohol
take over.
Sorry, just looking at one of our comments about should I call him Adrian or Dad? The answer is Dad, 2 exclamation points. Thank you, Michelle. If you serve your red wine too warm, a lot of the time all you will get is that alcohol heat coming off the wine. It smells hot. It really goes up your nostrils. It tastes hot, like it tastes spicy.
Once that's getting volatile.
Yeah.
Which is not a pleasant feeling.
I agree. No. Sorry for my looking like this. Here's another question. What new wines are you thinking of producing in the next few years? Thank you, Miss Dilara.
Miss Dilara. Well, Miss Dilara, I think we've already told us.
We touched on that. Remember, people come into the chat; they don't see the whole thing. So
what did we touch on?
We did touch on it earlier. We've got some exciting Garganega in the.
But what about the Sangiovese?
In the.
Unfortunately, let us down this year.
In the tank, we have some Garganega, which is a great made famous in Suave in eastern Italy, in the Veneto region. But yes, something we're really excited about is Sangiovese. Yes. We're trying to stay true to our Italian roots. Dad, or Adrian's mother, my nonna, she was born and grew up in Tuscany, which
she grew up. She came here quite young, but she was
born there. We visited her sort of a family home about 5 years ago, carved into the hillside. So Tuscany is the home of Sangiovese. So we wanted to make a change last year. We ended up grafting over our Merlot and Malbec vines to Sangiovese. So we've got 3 new blocks. We got our first crop.
And unfortunately, the yield was very, very poor, given what wood we had laid down from winter. So we just didn't. So we haven't got the volume, but we'll only experimented with maybe a couple 100 litres, thank you. But yeah, that should be something we'll have in place more so next vintage, and that's going to be quite exciting because there's some good changes coming out of Heathcote region. Seems to be very well suited here. It's drier, it deals out well with the heat, and just we've got to try and we'll still determine what sort of style we're looking for, whether we want something a bit more fresh or a bit more serious. We haven't really.
Yeah, I like Sangiovese because it's sort of and I don't know which way you'd flip this. It's like a light wine masquerading as a heavier wine. It's actually quite medium-bodied and bright and red fruit, but it has a really nice tannin structure. It has a really good texture to it. So I like. I'm moving towards more medium-bodied style wines because I obviously drink a lot, not just in COVID conditions. So I think that,
and that which is great because there's such a wonderful savouriness about the Sangiovese too. So that's going to be exciting one. So I think that's the only thing that apart from that in the Fino Sherry and we've done the late halves, of course. I've got to do another fortified probably next year.
You talked about the Shiraz Viognier. It's in tank at the moment, ready to go to barrel.
Yes.
What's that mean? Some people might think that's one grape.
Well, it's actually 2, and obviously Viognier is a Rhone variety, as we mentioned before, but it's used in Shiraz to only in a small, maybe anywhere between 5 and 8%. 8% I would have thought a little bit too much, but the equation ends up being around 3 to 5. Is where you just get those nuances of those Viognier sort of what am I saying? Spicy sort of characters from the Viognier when that gets ripe.
Yeah.
But it also does a wonderful thing in changing colour. It's amazing what a dash of Viognier can do to red wine. It just makes it go incredibly dense.
There's actually a chemistry component to that. There's something in the the compounds of the skin of the Viognier grape, which is a white grape, that actually bind with.
Finds more colour.
It binds to the Shiraz skins or the colour coming out of those skins, and it sort of sets it. And I didn't study winemaking, so I can't make it more too much more technical than that. But yeah, it makes a really dense but yet still bright colour, which is really good.
So we've actually released a couple of good Shiraz Viogniers over the years. A couple of trophy winners there back in 14, I think, 15, and but this one, as I said earlier, we've got to get in barrels now. It's that's gone through Malo, needs to be made secure, taken off lees. That's all the sediments after it's been fermenting.
All the dead yeast cells, all the colour compounds coming out of it.
Get rid of all that, and then we'll stick it in the barrel and let it start maturing a little bit of light oak. Probably what we'll concentrate on this year.
We did have a 2018 Shiraz Viognier in the barrels. And you know what? Winemaking, you only get to do it once a year, and everything's a learning, and we over-oaked it a bit.
It was. And not so much was over-oaked, it was just over-oaked using the incorrect oak. It was actually a barrel called Francois Ferrer, which is very, very smoky, sort of spakety character, and normally sits beautifully with our Shirazes, but obviously I got more extraction than I thought I would. And consequently from the oak, and consequently that was sort of masking it took away the nice enhancements you were looking from a Viognier component. It was just all a bit too much. So this year we won't make the same mistake twice. But as I said, previous vintages we've had some terrific ones. So next time you come up, we'll pull one out for you to have a look at.
Excellent. A couple of questions just came in then, which I wrote down, which is why I was distracted at one point. What are we drinking? Kate asks.
Kate asks.
Kate did.
She's observant.
I know. We're drinking our Vermitino, actually. So we sort of touched on the fact that we were making another one this year. This is 2019 Vermitino. Again, we drink quite a bit of wine. There's nothing we get more excited about at the end of the day, particularly in winter. In summer, what they say is true. It takes a lot of beer to make good wine. Would you agree?
Yes.
But at this point, it's a bit colder. We drink more larger styles. So we're drinking our very Vermitino at the moment, but we enjoy Riesling and Rosé.
Well, I can't speak for India, but I think we're pretty much in tune with that. That's got to be my favourite wine is a Riesling, a good Riesling.
Okay. And how long do you lay down wines for? How long should you sell them for? I actually had someone call me up today to order some wine, and he asked me the same question. He ordered something like a case of Ladies Pass, and he asked how long it would sell her, and I told him 15 to 20 years.
Wine's capable of doing that.
I had a 2004 Ladies Pass a few months ago, and it was just glorious.
Well, I think with any selling wine, it's not every wine sells well. Some sell it very poorly. They're not meant to sell it because they're meant to be drunk fresh and young. But generally, if you are looking at selling wine, the biggest tip I can tell you is to make sure that you select a wine that's still got a powerful structure, that's got a good tannin base, because the tannin is going to keep that wine, keep the longevity, and that's why we sell a wine to break those tannin chains down. So after 10 or 15 years, you've got that nice soft tannins.
So oxygen helps break down tannins, which makes them appear softer, which is the same reason you mature wine in oak barrels, because that oxygen exchange softens and rounds out those tannin compounds, which is that dry feeling that you get when you enjoy young wine.
We try and back it both ways. Try and make wine that's still got a good, powerful base, but not unapproachable when it's young, but has the ability to sell it very well. So if you've got a wine, and let's say a white wines don't sell that well. There are obviously some good examples, some good Chardonnays that had good ag treatment, etc.
Fuller bodied whites, Sala. Whereas grapes like Vermentino, Rosé, Riesling actually does
sell
sell really well, which is because it has a really high acid and occasionally some sugar hiding in the background that's in balance with the acid.
So if you're looking at so making sure you've got a good structure, you've got plenty of fruit in the wine. If you don't have any fruit, by putting it down for 10 years, it's not going to grow mysterious fruit. If it's no fruit, it's done.
Yeah.
So you've got to have fruit, you've got to have structure. So good, powerful tannins that are going to be driving that wine and protecting the wine. You'd also need to, without being too technical, the analysis. Wine analysis is also very important. pH level in a wine. It's a measure of acidity. And generally, if you're trying to lay down a wine that's, got a high pH, say something like 4, then that makes a very soapy wine. Not that we often drink soap, but that's an expression that's used when you get a very broad, flat wine. So that it needs more acid. So you wouldn't be wanting to do, and I think we see that a bit in Europe actually. Some of those Montepulcianos, sometimes I think they can be quite high in pH too, and I think that's why we think they look a bit dank sometimes. They don't have that freshness.
Yeah. But, people say insipid. Insipid.
Yeah.
It's flat.
Yeah, flat.
And flabby.
So it's not hard to pick out a wine for cellaring. You can do it, I'm sure. I'm not too sure about Michelle though. I think she'd probably have it drunk pretty quickly.
I like Kate's response that she's imagining the wine growing fruit but failing. Well, what else have we got here? It's raining right now. How does this recent rain and a wet year affect the grapes and the vintage? Which is a good question.
Familiar.
You can go. I'll butt in as usual.
Well, rain's always good. Nice. Rain's always good. We've had a little bit of good downfalls the last month. We need to have water stored in our dam for the spring, which we're sort of moving towards. We've also got for those who don't know, a desalinator on the dam now and a bore, so we're able to access water in those other times when we've never been able to. There's really bad drought conditions, so that's been really good. So what we want is moisture back in the soil, build up that profile, and then so that when it comes to spring, you've got they've already made lots of carbohydrates, which they're still doing now at this late stage, so that when
just like energy,
so it gives them the energy to start pushing out the buds. Obviously, things got to the soil's got to warm up, to get that initiation of growth. Very important. So
after we come out of winter, that means when the weather warms up.
The ground's going to warm up. Around 20 degrees or something. Then you'll start seeing some movement in the vines. They'll get more suitable growing conditions, and then they'll welcome that relief.
Yeah.
So I think that's about all we're doing. And where are we going?
What are we looking at?
In 10 to 20.
That's a different question.
What was that?
We're talking about how the rain's affecting the grapes.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's all good. All right. Don't worry, everybody. It's all good.
We're all good. No, they're soaking. Yeah, they're keeping all their energy. They're storing it now in these great conditions. And so if you had to make a prediction right now, you would say that next vintage will be a very, very good one. But
it should be.
Of course, that depends on the conditions as we come into fruit set and bud burst in September.
That's right. But unfortunately, we have other things to consider too also, and that is the fact that the last two vintages have had very, very poor fruit initiation, which means that the fruit for the next year following vintage is set in spring. So if you've got poor fruit set last year, and then you're not going to initiate much fruit for the year after. So that's what we're going to be facing at the moment. It's only a minor thing, but it's going to be quite important. But at the moment, if we get good fruit initiation, conditions are right, so it sets good fruit. Our yields have been low, so it's not like they've overcropped and they're going to struggle, which is sometimes can happen. So they should welcome the new carbohydrate load and fire up.
It should be good. I did just check the question tab on Insta. Thanks for those that have joined us live on Instagram. I promise I didn't plant this question. The question was, how easy is it to source our wines online?
Oh, you can answer that.
Yeah, I can answer that. We're actually really excited because this year we launched our first online shop. We've been established since 1992, and it's 2020, and we just launched a shop, which I'm really happy with. So you can see our full range there. And
well, have you mentioned to the listeners about the cellar door series was it all been done and dusted?
It's done and dusted, but it's worth mentioning that if you ever wanted to learn more about Minari wines, we were...
And see the real people behind the scenes.
Not the fake two sitting here like this.
That's it.
We were featured on a program called the Cellar Door series. So if you just type the Cellar Door series into YouTube now, Minari Wines, you'll get a 22-minute episode. You'll learn about the stories behind our labels. Yeah. So where do these images come from? Whoop, there we go. And you'll learn about what to expect at our cellar door. You'll learn from me about what it's like to be back at the business after moving away from home at 18. Now I'm 33. So a bit of time has passed there. You will learn why this guy got into the farming business, the glorified farming business.
Yeah, there is a bit about that, actually.
Yeah, bit of history there. So, yeah, jump onto the Cellar Door Minari Wines on YouTube, or it's on our website as well. In fact, Marketing 101 tells me that I should definitely send you to our website to check out that video. It's on the About Us page under the history. Well, unless you guys, it's been really good. It's been really fun chatting. I think this is our first sort of foray into a somewhat formal live viewing. We've really appreciated your interaction and your questions. I think we've covered off all the ones that were pre-submitted.
Now, what we should also do is maybe next time we do it, ask people to go and buy a bottle of wine, which we can.
Our wine or any wine?
Any wine.
Yeah.
It's a bit hard to get our wine out there, and then.
No, it's not. We just talked about the online shop. God, this guy's not good at marketing.
And then we could also have a session that just discuss the wine if it's not too boring for people.
Totally. Tell us what.
Any idea?
I love it. Great. So maybe next Wonder Wednesday you can. Post in the comments what wine you're drinking. How do you envision that going? So that will tell us what they're drinking.
We'd have to. Well, certainly we could select a wine that everybody goes out and buys at the supermarket or wherever.
I prefer our wine. But going the other way, you buy a wine that you want. Might be Minari wines, but it's not as easily accessible to everybody. You buy a wine from the bottle shop. Share it with us prior to our live at Wednesday at 5:30, and we'll talk you through it. We might be able to help you understand that wine better.
We can show you what makes the difference between a red wine and a white wine. That's always important, 101.
Red wine versus white wine, yeah. Is that what you said? Sorry.
No, we can tell that we can teach them to know the difference between.
That's an interesting comment. There's a lot of studies that say if you taste wine in a black tasting glass with no color cues and it's room temperature, even the best wine experts, let's say, can get it wrong based on
no visuals.
So, when you see a red wine, you expect cherries and strawberries and plums and tar and all those aromas, but when all those cues are removed, it's remarkable how much more difficult it is to blind taste a wine. The last question of the night, Kate says, thanks for accompanying my dinner cooking. I'm making gnocchi. Which Minari wine would be a good match? Well, it depends what the sauce is, to be honest. I like a cheesy gnocchi because I'm a bit naughty like that, which means our Vermitino would cut that cheese. The acid going through the Vermitino would cut that cheese really nicely and keep the palate fresh, so you could go back to that more fatty style gnocchi. But a lot of people have gnocchi bolognese.
Or a rich sauce.
A richer sauce, yeah.
In which case, chorizo would be good. Glazed pasta would be good.
Yeah.
Would have thought.
You want to, when you're food pairing, you want to go like for like. So, there's two rules. Like for like, so if it's something with a lot of intensity, you want to match another wine with a lot of intensity. Also, it's a full-bodied meal, you want to match it with a full-bodied wine. But the other thing is, similar to what I just said, is opposites. So it was like a rich, creamy gnocchi. You want to have an opposite flavour, which is a lemon, citrus, wine like Vermentino or Riesling to cut that. Riesling, cut that acidity. So hopefully that's answered your. Oh, butter and sage. Oh, perfect. Yeah. I'd still go Vermentino, but then you go to the like for like rule: butter. Rich Chardonnay. So that's another option. If you've got a butter and sage gnocchi, it's medium bodied, which Chardonnay is. It's a rich style. What did you say?
Oh, I don't like those big buttery.
Yeah, but I'm saying if it was more of a richer oaked style of Chardonnay and you're pairing it with a buttery dish, I think that would be a good pairing.
Yep.
High Voltage Studio, thanks for joining us. Yes, Ray, we're actually just about to finish up. But what you did miss is that we're going to be back next Wednesday at 5:30 for Wonder Wednesday. We're encouraging you to go to your bottle shop and purchase any wine you want. Share it with us, as in tell us what you're drinking. We'll either go and get it from the bottle shop or we will do some research on it, and then we want to answer your questions about that wine because we want people to understand wine better and enjoy wine better. So that all helps for us. If you want to buy our wine, great, get online, get on our shop. We'll send it out ASAP. And you can also enjoy it from the comfort of your own home, and we can comment on it for you. Good. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, everybody. It's been lovely
having
a chat. Hopefully we'll all catch up again next week.
And when Dad's on less drugs. Much love to everyone. Stay well. Keep drinking wine and see you next time.
Goodbye.
Bye. I don't know how to do this, but bye. Love it. Bye. Bye, Facebook.